Everyone, this is Jacqui Cooper with JCooperTravels, and I want to welcome everyone for listening as well as for watching our broadcast. For those that don't know about JCooperTravels, the talk show is both about where we go around the globe, but also about people's journeys in their own personal life, as well as how they travel both in their career, personally, professionally, and every other way. So today I have a really special guest on that I connected with on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. And Kris is going to introduce herself in a quick second, but I had the pleasure and honor of actually being on her talk show, and I was able to share a little bit more about my story, because usually I'm talking about other people's stories. So that was a lot of fun. That was really a lot of fun because my background's a little bit diverse. But today it's Kris's turn. So Kris, welcome, and thank you so much for being on. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Jacqui Cooper. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So tell everyone a little bit more about where are you, first of all, located?
I'm
And
in Southern California.
yeah, and what do you do?
Well, that's a loaded question.
I know.
um,
It's pretty broad, right?
yes, but it's a good question to answer because I have my hands in a lot of things. So by day, I work for a community college foundation in Pasadena, where I run the programs, the scholarship stuff. Web communications, all that thing. I'm a 25 plus year higher education person, I guess you could say. Worked in college housing for the first 20 or so years, and then had the honor of kind of moving out of that world and into the world of advancement and development, which I'm really, really enjoying. In 2017, my husband and I founded a nonprofit U.S. Masters swim team. Masters just means adults over 18. It's not anything super, impressive. It's impressive, but it's not that impressive. Um, and we teach adults how to swim. We allow adults to participate in swimming and fitness and a very inclusive and welcoming um, atmosphere. We welcome all levels, all abilities, and it's more about building community and letting people experience the sport of swimming, the sport of triathlon as well. And then in 2018, I founded Silver Peak Development, which was originally meant to be career coaching and helping midlife people with transitions the way that I did, from moving out of, one aspect of higher education into another. But then I got really embedded in the whole like making time for your side hustle and what's that like. So these days I help career professionals in higher education create their side hustle and make time for it, so they're not wasting that additional potential that might be, lodged in the back of their head. Well, I really love what I do with Greek life, but my other passion is teaching people how to knit, or speaking on a stage, talking about diversity and inclusivity, things like that. So that is what I am here on this planet doing currently.
Yeah, no, it's great. And so you have I've seen, because I'm on your list, you have a podcast, a talk show. You also have a blog. How did you decide to kind of navigate all that, and when did you get started in that?
Sure. Well, obviously it started with the blog. I think lots of people start with a blog because it's a way confidently you can write and put your message out there, and it's easy. It doesn't require extra equipment. It doesn't require comfortability speaking, out to other people like this. But I had attended a mastermind group in 2018. Actually, it was this past week, 3 years ago, that I attended that group. Being in that mastermind group opened up a whole bunch of doors for me and really gave me ideas, confidence into taking, what I wanted to do to the next level. But I was talking in this mastermind group about a time management philosophy that I have, which is called Elevate Your Eight. The theory behind that is if you're honoring your work-life balance and you're working 8 hours a day and you're honoring your wellness and you're sleeping 8 hours every night, then the real key to time management and productivity is what you do with those other 8 hours. And so finding the opportunity to prioritize and determine what are the most important things to get done in those 8 hours, and that's really what fuels our ability to get stuff done, have a rich life, those types of things. So I'm sharing this philosophy with them, and they're like, "Oh my God, Kris, you need to start a podcast. This is just the perfect platform for something like that." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to do that." So the podcast came in the fall of 2018, and then just recently I had sort of this epiphany that I needed to niche down a little bit and not just talk about the productivity stuff, but what I realized I was really passionate about is talking to other educators about how they can use their potential in other ways by getting their other messages out into the world. And I think, some people like to say like, "Oh, a podcast is just an expensive hobby," and I don't think that's true. But we have tons of other hobbies that are part of our world, and I think if you have a hobby that you're able to make into a business, like why not? Why not get paid to do something that a comes really easily to you, and b is something that you thoroughly enjoy doing and you would do for free anyway. So that's really what I'm trying to do with the show and the blog and the coaching right now. That's how all that kind of stuff fits together. And the blog and the podcast you can find it on my website, which is krismcpeak.com. And that's Kris with a K. And so all of that info is there if you want to go kick around and play with it.
You must have read my mind because I was just about to ask you, how can people reach out to you? So,
Yeah.
so what kind of entrepreneurs or individuals who might not think that they're entrepreneurs should think about maybe reaching out to you and having you support them?
That's a really good question. I think everything starts with an idea of something that seems interesting. And I do have a freebie about this. It's 13 easy to start side hustles. If someone's thinking like, well, I really want to do this, but I don't know where to start. And to go back even further, for me, having a side hustle, or back in the day, we called it a second job, right? That was all about like, okay, I need to make some extra money because I have debt or I have goals to go on vacation or I want to start saving, for retirement early. And then it occurred to me that it's more, we don't just have to go to another place of business to pursue a second stream of income. And with the internet now and all of these resources that are available to us, we can get our message out into the world any way that we want. And I think for most folks in higher education, it starts with the notion of, boy, I really like presenting at conferences, so I think I might like to be a professional speaker. Okay, well, that requires a platform for yourself. Like, what is your expertise going to be? Where's your? We need to get a media kit together for you. Figure out how you're going to share with other professional associations, like how they can find you and why they should hire you. So that's one area. Somebody might feel really passionate about writing, and they have wrote short stories in high school or in college, and they think like, oh, maybe I'll self-publish some books. So that's another way of getting an outlet out there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if people would like to pursue the idea of doing something else, a side hustle, something that gives them joy, something that makes them smile, makes them happy, but they don't really know where to start, that's where I come in. So I want to work with people that have an inkling of an idea and sort of a small direction where they want to go, and then I'm going to help them take it step by step and fill in those gaps. Okay, here's your idea. Let's parse it out a little bit. Let's create a timeline. Let's create a content method. Do you see yourself sitting behind a microphone and doing a podcast, or do you see yourself, like I said earlier, promoting yourself to be on a stage? Do you see yourself communicating in the written word and putting books out there, creating other content, online courses, ebooks, those types of things? So what I want educators to do is to find me and say, Kris, I have this idea for a side hustle. I don't know where to start. and or I really want to pursue this project, but I have no idea how I'm going to make time for it. That's where I come in. That's where I want to be supportive and helpful.
So I love everything that you're saying. I know that I've gotten involved with different things because those are passion areas of mine. So have you found that this is satisfying a certain area within you and is a passion area of yours? And how does it tie into some of the other things that you're doing? Because you have more than one hustle.
Yeah, very much so. Well, the swimming thing for the swim team really came out of my husband's rediscovery. He was a swimmer in high school. He qualified for Olympic trials, so he was doing really well. But after high school, he sort of lost the joy for that, and and long story short, he had some health issues that once they worked themselves out, he said, Kris, I'm gonna go do a triathlon. And he did the triathlon. And then he says, I want to be back in the pool again. And then that translated into I want to start my own team. And he says, and we should do this together because it should be a nonprofit. And I said, okay, great. That sounds fantastic. So initially the idea of having a small business came from his idea, following his passion. But by that point, I had become a swimmer. I was doing triathlons with him. And the idea of being able to facilitate that passion of his together was exciting. So he's going to be the head coach. I'm going to be the executive director. He's going to run the swimming side, and I'm going to do the back end things of the business and the marketing and that kind of stuff. And from there, as I was learning these other skills, how to promote the team on social media, how do you start a nonprofit corporation, how do you have a small business banking account, all of those things. I started thinking like, this work-life balance stuff has always been pretty important to me and I have a message there. So I'm just going to throw something out there and it really translated into the whole career coaching stuff because I had made this leap of faith myself into applying for a job and then getting a job of which I personally felt I had zero specific qualifications. But I am rambling here. Um,
No, you're doing good. You're doing
the
good.
the joy of helping another person achieve a goal or pinpoint something that's important to them. I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, I consider myself a lifelong educator as well as being a lifelong learner. And when you absorb information that you start to think this is pretty interesting to me, I just really latched onto it big time and it became something I wanted to pursue and be a part of. And to give you some more context, back in the day, I was a huge moviegoer, and my girlfriends and I would go to the movies every weekend. We would map out our day. Like we would see 2 and 3 movies in a day. We would pick a theater that was showing things we wanted to see. We were notorious theater jumpers. However, we did buy concessions, so we were supporting our local theater. But that was my social life was in that, and my hobby, my pleasure area, my joy. And then I became a runner and I started training for marathons and half marathons. And while I still went to movies, I was putting a lot of energy and effort, again, joy into running. And then sort of it's like as you transition through your years, you find that other things become interesting and exciting to you and you go and pursue those things. So I really just see the side hustle and these small businesses as sort of being a progression of things that I've participated in outside of my 9 to 5 because they bring me joy. They're fun to pursue because I am not in this to quit my day job and run my side hustle as my full-time job. I love what I do from 8 to 4:30. I feel very tapped into what it means to support a college, to work with students, to help students figure out their path. And so there's no way I would ever let that go. But in the meantime, these other interest areas come up and why not get paid for them? And it's so much fun to support my husband in making something come to life that's special for him. So it's yeah, it comes down to finding those places outside of my 9 to 5 that bring joy and that allow me to work through talent areas that I have and to do something with my lifelong partner that's fun and challenging and helps other people.
I love what you're saying on so many levels because you have first of all, you have found something that you love during the quote unquote day. And for those that haven't found that, you can definitely do something as a side hustle that can transition. But having a
Right.
side hustle doesn't mean that you need to eliminate what you like during the day. You can manage both. And I also love what you shared before about the 888, because if you you have your 9 to 5, and then you have your sleep time, and then you have the other 8 hours, like you said, and part of that might be family time, part of that might be development of the side hustle, part of that might be exercising or whatever.
Hmm.
But like you said, if you can think about how do you manage your time, then you can incorporate both the space that you personally need for refreshing yourself, as well as
Yeah.
generating something new, which empowers you. Because that's the other thing that I have found is at times I've really loved what I do during the day, but I still need an extra energy push. And like my being in the travel space is because of my loving to travel.
Hmm.
My being in some of the other spaces is because of, like you said, of being a lifelong learner. And so you can develop side businesses based upon your personal interests. And I
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and you've shown that both with how you kind of jump from one thing to the other, but they're all integrated. And so that's really great.
Yeah, and the what's been really fun about this whole journey is the way that my day job has progressed. In the beginning, all these things were already in my job description, but the department I was in was, okay, we're not at that place yet where having a fully what's the word I'm looking for? A robust website is important. Right now, it's important to get the scholarship program launched, and then we're going to start working about how we communicate the message of the foundation out. So, as my skill sets at my day job have been growing and I've become more competent in these areas, I'm noticing that, oh my gosh, this stuff all overlaps. And what I'm learning about social media for my side hustles is becoming very useful in my day job. And what I learned about the nonprofit world and my day job became incredibly helpful when it was time to start the swim team. So I love that all of these things are kind of weaving themselves together. There's similarities, but they're still very separate, unique entities that, allow my brain to go in different directions and fill all of those, not voids, but tap into all of those things that are of interest to me and light me up and make me feel like, "Oh my god, I am working in the most fun industries in the whole world, and this, feels like playtime all the time," and that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's exactly right. And I think that that's something that some individuals are lucky to have the ability to do things that they are passionate about, and it brings joy. And
Mhm.
then there are others that aren't able to do that during part of their day, but they can definitely develop a side area that can bring them the joy that can refresh them. So for those that are listening, remember, you can pick and choose. It's sort of like a menu. Decide, what piece you want, and you can make it work for you.
Mhm.
Kris, why don't you mention again your website and how they can contact you?
Yeah, so I'm at chrismcpeak.com, and that's I'm sorry, MCPEAK. So like Pikes Peak, but it's McPeak. chrismcpeak.com. And I'm on Instagram incessantly, and that's Christmas Peak. So KRISMASPEAK. Um, I love putting messages and thoughts and inspiration out on the gram. So that is another good place to connect with me.
Yep. And for those that might not be aware how a talk show podcast or a Zoom works, there's definitely an information block below. I'll have the text and the contact information there as well. So if you're listening and you don't have a pen and paper or can't remember, then just remember JCooperTravels. And if you would like to email me, jcoopertravels@gmail.com, I can definitely connect you over to Kris, and we can make it all, happen. So any last minute thoughts, Kris, that you would like to share before we sign off?
Just thanks for having me and letting me share with your listeners, and to the folks out there that are tuning in today. Please make sure that you go leave Jacqui Cooper a 5-star rating and review. It's super helpful for us to get our messages out into the world, and those reviews really help elevate our place out there. So when you're done listening, please go do that.
I
And
appreciate
and
that.
again, thank you so much for making time for me today. This has been really nice.
Yeah, it's always great chatting with you. I know we're going to be on future conversations as things develop on both of our worlds. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Kris.